Welcome to the podcast. We do recover with Jared Miller, your host.
And I'm Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host.
This is a podcast about recovery from addiction.
We want to talk about what successful recovery can look like.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
Today on We Do Recover, we have some special guests from you. They are from Usara. We're talking about Ben.
What's up?
How are you this morning, Ben?
A little tired, but, the coffee's kicking in, so I'm getting there.
There you go. Waking up, getting going. And Marcy, how are you doing this morning, Marcy?
Doing good.
Are you so nervous you're about to puke yet?
I'm almost there, yeah. Just trying to remember to breathe.
Love these guys. So grateful that they came on. So let's check in with our regular characters on the show. We got the doc, Terry Sellers.
Skyping in this morning.
Glad you could make it, brother. And Sean Denovan, our producer.
I made it back.
Woo.
He made it back safely. So,
wait, did the motorcycle break down?
you're starting new and goods already.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead, man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nah, I'm just kidding. So episode 42, if I don't get this out, I'll forget, Sellers. You know this. Episode 42, part 1, is brought to you by Steps Recovery Center, where addiction ends and healing begins. If you or a loved one need help, give them a call. 801-800-8142. And even if they are not a good fit for you, they will find you a place to get some recovery, get your loved one help, or even yourself some help. Great people.
Yeah, good people over there.
We love our sponsorship, Steps Recovery Center. All right, Sellers, start us off with your new and good. Fire away.
I got nothing.
Got nothing.
I need to know if the motorcycle broke down, because that's my new and good. If it did, it just makes my whole week better.
Johnny passed the ball. It's in your court now.
1,300 miles, no problems. In your
What?
face. Jeez.
Nice.
That's an 85 Suzuki. Thank you very much.
Ooh, that's almost a miracle.
And
Well, hey, these miracles happen all the time for me. So you just, be walking on water over here.
80,
Is it ice?
85, it's an 85 Suzuki and 2017 baling wire.
Cannot disagree.
I like that you've got it going, though. Like the fact that it's still running is a miracle.
Yeah, so we
Kinda
went up to Vernal and back, and we did a charity run, raised $2,500 for one of the local charities up there. So it was a fun weekend.
Yeah, and it had a purpose behind it.
Good job.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And it was hot. We came back on Sunday through Mexican Hat and Moab and in Lake Powell. 100 and hot. Yeah, we'll say that.
100 and hot.
100 and hot.
All right, Sellers, why don't you get new and goods from the rest of them, from Marcy and Ben?
Soon we won't be able to call it Mexican Hat, by the way.
Yeah.
Since we can't call it Dixie State, it can't be Mexican Hat very much longer either. It'll just be Hat.
Hey, Sean's
new and
decided
good.
not to respond.
Uh-huh.
Sean's decided not to respond to that comment.
I don't blame him. I get myself in trouble. He's smarter than me. Well, let's start with Ben. Ben, we always do new and goods on here. What's new and good in your world this week?
This week, well, last weekend I just went to Austin, Texas, and so that was fun until the humidity hit when I walked off the airplane. So that was new. I wouldn't say good.
Is that your first time in Austin?
Yeah, that was my first time in Texas. It was really cool. I've never been to Texas before.
Yeah, that's a cool town, Austin.
Yeah, I don't know, a lot of people are moving there and stuff, but it's a lot smaller than I thought for like a big city. It's like really only like 5 or 10 blocks and then like a lot of outskirts and stuff. But what really amazed me was all the trees there. Like, because I pictured Texas like desert, tumbleweeds, cactus, and everything, but like so many trees just everywhere. It was insane to me. I'm like, is this Texas? Are you sure? Because this is not what I picture in my mind when I think of Texas.
You had an old Western movie rolling through the narration.
Old John Wayne with the cowboy boots rolling through town.
I love it. Good. That's a great new and good.
Cool. Okay, Marcy. Is it Marcy?
Yes.
Did I get that right? Okay.
You did.
Marcy, what's new and good in your world?
New and good in my world. I haven't had a very exciting life recently. I guess new and good would be that we have done a remodel on our house, and so that is new and it's good.
How is that not exciting, Marcy?
It's exciting, but it's been going on. We've done all the work ourselves, so it's been going on for 3 months now. So yeah, a little bit of painting left to do, and it'll be all done.
Nice.
So super exciting. We got all new flooring and opened up the kitchen area. So it's been an adventure because all the work was done by us. The
And
flooring was fun.
it'll be new and good when it's finished,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
right now, it's a labor of love.
For
So
I don't know
so
about love,
understand
but
that.
it is labor.
Yeah, okay, fair
It's
enough.
labor.
I stand corrected, sir. Yes.
Very laborious.
I don't even understand that word, but Sean could look it up, I'm sure. Laborious. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Hey,
I don't
Jared.
know if it's an actual word. So there's that.
Oh, it is. It's a word. You just made it up, but it's a word. No, I'm kidding. Jared, drink some water and then tell me what's new and good in your world.
Oh, man. So the closing of this house has been new and good and frustrating. Who knew that the underwriter would need some kind of additional document every day? You know what I mean? Like, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to purchase a house today, 7 years into my recovery, right? That's a reborn dream.
That's huge.
Yeah, we do recover, guys. We really do. You know, but
Yep.
the underwriter, you know, it was a constant, hey, we're going to need one more document. This is the last one, we promise. Next day, hey, about that, we're going to need one more document. So that's my new and good. But hey, today we're supposed to sign papers, move in tomorrow.
Excitement.
Where is it?
It's just
the-
downtown. It's not too far from here, actually.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Very nice.
The underwriter just called me. He said you're not signing today. He said they need one more document.
Don't let Mandy find that out, boy. I thought, you know, I got frustrated. This girl, she's a little sweetheart, but she's got some spice in her. Yeah. We're excited. We're grateful.
I like it.
I'm
I
not
love
excited
it.
for the 110, degree heat though. Anyways,
Yeah. Well, you chose St. George. You get that in the summer. Sorry.
yes, this is true. This is true.
You get some beautiful winters out of the deal, but you got that in the summer. All right.
Speaking of St. George,
Yes, sir.
Marcy and Ben are here with Usara in St. George, and we're going to get to Usara and all the amazing things that Usara does. But I'm big on familiarity, right, and be able to connect with people. So tell us a little bit about you, and just kind of, you don't got to give us the whole bio, but just give us a brief little synopsis of who you guys are and how you got involved with Usara and what your vision is maybe in the next 10 years.
So basically an elevator speech.
Yes, Marcy, let's have you start.
Yeah, take it
No,
away,
but
Mark.
Marcy, it's a
Ooh.
74-story building, so you can talk for a few minutes for sure.
So I'm like I said, I'm Marcy. I'm a woman in long-term recovery, and for me that means that I haven't needed to use a drink or a drug since May 4th of 2002. So my recovery
Nice.
has been
Nice job.
a process. Very grateful that I got to find recovery, and since I've been in recovery, I worked in treatment most of the time. I spent a lot of years doing groups, drug court, different modalities of treatment, and very blessed to have been able to walk that path. And then back in 2015, I opened my own outpatient facility, which was really cool. And it went really good for about 3 years, but that was about it for me. It was a lot of work. And so I closed that down and was pretty burned out on treatment. I thought, I just don't want to do this anymore. This is not what I pictured my recovery being. And Mary Jo McMillan, our executive director, approached me and said, hey, I want you to open a center of Usara in St. George. And I was like, nah, I'm done.
I'm
just
good.
done with the treatment recovery world. But she kept asking, and I agreed. And so that's where it started. And what I came to find was that I really enjoy this side of the recovery world. It's like more of a support. So I get to be more supportive.
So something about it really rejuvenated those juices that you originally started off with when you wanted to work in recovery and treatment and substance use disorder.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome.
For sure. So now I get to support people, advocate for people, build a recovery community that is all inclusive. So I just really enjoy what I do now. And I'm hoping to continue it for a while.
That's awesome.
Build relationships, connect with people, form partnerships.
And Marcy, you're pretty good at it. I don't know if
Thank
you knew
you.
that, but yeah, you do a pretty amazing job. So I'm a fan.
Thanks,
Namaste.
Jared.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Ben.
Well, do I start in the beginning or the end and work our way back?
However you want to go, man. There's no wrong direction.
So how I got involved with Usara was very similar to Marcy. So I got into recovery. What was it? It was 2014. So I did the whole gambit of treatment, detox, treatment, sober living, all that. It was a struggle for a while, and towards the end of 2014, I was really struggling, in my addiction, but I was just so tired and done, but I just didn't know how to stop, and so I finally accepted some help. Push from law enforcement helped.
Nudge from the judge, right? That always helps.
Yeah,
For sure.
kept me out of jail, so we figure I'd go to treatment. But anyway, so through that process, I graduated my outpatient treatment, and I just kept coming back. They said that we were welcome to continue going to groups after we graduate, and I hit a really hard time in my life where one of my best friends overdosed and died, and I didn't know how to handle that, so I went back to the one place I felt safe, which was my outpatient treatment center. And so I just kept going back, and eventually they offered me a job.
Wow. That's amazing.
Right, and it was really awesome, and I loved working there. I got to work with all the people that, personally helped me recover, and then I was able to pass that all along to new people that came in. And, obviously I had my own recovery outside of work, but, that was huge for me. And, part of that job, they paid for me to go get my CPSS. But after a while, like Marcy, I just got kind of jaded and burnt out and was kind of over it. Ended up moving to Oregon for about a year. When I came back, I gave it a go again for a couple months, and it just wasn't for me. And so I just went back to painting houses. Like, I make more money. When the day ends, I don't take any of it home. Like, I just go paint houses. That's it. I get my 40, 50 hours a week. They pay me, and I'm done. Like, I don't have to worry about it after that, and I can go to, my meetings and do my recovery there. About 6-7 months after I came back from Oregon, Marcy called me.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of similar to her story where, like, I was just done, burned out, and Marcy gave me a call and was like, hey, we want to interview you. I was like, Marcy, I'm so done with treatment. She's like, well, it's recovery, but it's not treatment. I was like, I still didn't want to go, but I had a lot of respect for Marcy and her husband, Ken, because Ken was actually the intake nurse at the detox that I went to where I finally, got into recovery and where it stuck. And so, like, he was the one that first gave me that hope. And so when they opened up their outpatient, I had a lot of interaction with them, and that's where I met Marcy. And so I had a lot of respect and love for them and what they did for me. And so just purely out of that respect of like, all right, Marcy, I'll come and talk to you. And after that, though, and she just explained to me what Usara was about and what the things they were hoping to do and trying to do here. And to me, like, so when you go to the CPSS training, like, you get the whole bunch of training, and then when you get into like the actual work and where you end up working, dictates a lot of what that is. And so that was a big part of why I got jaded, is because a lot of treatment centers don't utilize CPSS in the way that they're supposed to be. And so the way she described it is like, that's everything that it should be. That's everything that, in my mind, that I wanted to do. And
so she was offering you something that you went to school exactly for.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, that's right up the alley of why I got involved in the first place with, treatment and working in recovery. And, through the years, I just got kind of jaded when it wasn't, what I had in my mind, And so when she described it, it was just like everything that I loved and wanted it to be. I mean, obviously, day to day things get, there's a lot of paperwork and BS you got to put up with to do the job. But, you know, the way she described it and what they're hoping to do and what we strive to do every day is exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah, it's what you had envisioned while you were going to school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. And look, I think Dr. Sellers, I'm going to come back to you on this, but I'm going to give a little take on the burnout, right? Like when you work in treatment, it's one thing to have your recovery because it's personal to you and you know what works in, right? When you're working and trying to help other people, we've talked about the 5 stages of change, right? And if they're still in pre-contemplation or contemplation and they're not wanting to change, it can burn you out.
Absolutely.
It can. It's emotionally taxing, especially when you create connections with these people, because that's a big part of it is rapport, right? You build rapport. And then the next thing you know, you hear of them getting kicked out, or, you know, they get out and fall on their face. And yeah, it's funny. I talked to my sponsor this week. I got a new sponsor down here, and just jokingly I said to him, I said, oh, you know, I won't bug you too much. I'm low maintenance. And he laughed and he said, your disease isn't low maintenance, right?
Yeah,
and
very
that's just,
true.
it's an eye opener. It really is. What's your take on that, Dr. Sellers? You ever felt a little burned out working in the industry?
Yeah, sure. It happens a lot. I mean, it happens to me. And it's not even the people that are just in pre-contemplation stage. Like this disease, if you look at recovery numbers of people that sort of get and maintain long-term recovery, they're not incredibly high. And that's one of the raps on treatment is people say, well, treatment doesn't work. Well, if you compare it to the numbers of people that get clean and sober just on their own, they're way higher. So treatment does work. It just doesn't work for everybody. And when you're sort of putting forth your best effort and other people aren't getting it, the work can be frustrating sometimes, and it's discouraging sometimes. And if you don't really take care of yourself, you're going to get burned out pretty easily. It's easy to do.
For sure. I feel like that people who work in the industry are extremely caring people, super compassionate, and you put your heart on your sleeve for these people, and a lot of them just aren't ready yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And what Ben touched on, peer support specialist is what you got, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of, he touched on something that I think is important. A lot of times the actual organization itself needs to know how to utilize its people. Like, it's great that you get that certification, but if you don't use them in a way that they can fully use that certification, if you're just basically having them do tech work or case management, that's not exactly their passion, right? They went to school specifically for that.
Right.
I know, like at Steps, I got to boast about Steps because I work there. A lot of times for like seeking safety in some of the programs that doesn't require credentials, we have our peer support people run that. And oftentimes I'll sit in there and catch up on my notes while they're the ones running the group, and I love it. And they do a fantastic job of it. So it's a kind of a combination of everything.
Right.
It really is. I mean, and it's fairly new idea and certification in the world of treatment. I mean, it's been around for a little while, but like it's fairly new, and so not a whole lot of people even know what it is.
Yeah. Great point. Well, cool. This has been fun so far. However, I'm sitting here just exploding with excitement to talk about. We've talked about, both of you found a new passion in this thing, Usara, and I know one of the things that they talk about is that you support all pathways that lead to recovery. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Go for
All
it,
pathways
Marcy.
to recovery. That-
How about this? Marcy, why don't you give me your take on that, and then we'll get Ben's take on that.
That's a really good idea, Jared. Thanks. All pathways to recovery is just what it sounds like. You know, when we work with anybody, we meet them where they're at and help them to discover and define recovery for them so that it can lead to sustained recovery. We offer multiple different support groups, so we don't subscribe to any one path. So it's not just AA or NA. We do support those pathways to recovery, but we also support like a Buddhist philosophy to recovery. We have, yes,
Yeah.
that's with Dharma recovery. There's also a Course in Miracles support group that we have and offer to people, which is very popular. That's a Marianne Williamson path. I don't know if you guys know about that, but we also do meetings that are like Coffee and Recovery, where it's just a meeting where people are empowered by reading inspirational cards, talking about their recovery, everything just recovery oriented. There's many different secular, non-secular paths. So there's so many different ways. Like the way I got into recovery is not going to work for you specifically. You know,
It's not a
it would be
one-size-fits-all.
cool if it was like cookie cutter and we could all just do the exact same thing and we'd have all these people in recovery, but it's just different for everybody.
Yeah.
So really, really honoring that for each individual person.
I love it. Ben, what does that mean to you?
All pathways to recovery, what that means to me is whatever works, right? And like what Marcy was touching on, she touched on, a lot of the meetings that we offer here locally. But also it's like, it doesn't have to be defined or, just put in a box of just like meetings or just treatment or just, probation or law enforcement involvement. Like there's many people that can kind of figure it out on their own. Like I'm not one of them, but like I have to honor that because that's a pathway is they were able to do it themselves. And it's not necessarily what I believe for like myself. And it, the all pathways thing kind of challenged what I thought recovery was, because I came up in a 12-step type of fashion and, that's what works for my recovery. But like Marcy said, like that doesn't work for everyone. And, like, I don't know, we all have different paths and different lives and different journeys and different stories. And so like to just say that, recovery is just here, like just totally negates all the other stories that are outside of that box.
Yeah, absolutely. It's taking kind of the objectiveness of your own experience out of it. And I'm going to come back and get Sellers' take on this, but one thing that when I talk to families, because that's mainly what I do for Steps, is I tell them one day when I get a PhD, Sellers, I'm going to write a book on this. A lot of times people don't realize it, but one thing that walks hand in hand with substance use disorder is ODD, oppositional defiance disorder, right? So somebody says, hey, you need to do this. Guess what?
My middle finger goes up.
Right. Yeah. You're
Yep.
not going to tell me what to do. In fact, I'm going to do the opposite of what you told me because oppositional defiance sets in.
Just because
Yep.
you said that, I'm going to do the exact opposite.
Yeah. And so I love that
I've never experienced that.
you've never been like that.
Never,
Never.
ever in your life.
I have no idea what you're talking
You
about.
couldn't be doing it right now, right?
No, not at all.
Oh, Marcy, you're so much fun. So I love that because honestly, it's like, that's one thing when I sit down for individuals, I say to people, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? How can I help you? And then I often remind them when they say, do I have to do this assignment? Have to. You don't have to do anything, right? It's your recovery. Like we got to give them that self-efficacy of you can do this. I'm just here to support you. And I think
Right.
that's a beautiful thing that Usara really kind of bases it off of. We're not going to tell you what to do. What do you want to do?
Right. And that's really, I think, the core of what we do and offer is just what do you want to do? Like, how do you want to recover? You don't know? Well, here's some ideas. Here's some suggestions. Here's some, meetings. Here's some treatment centers, but it's not like you have to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
Right.
Dr. Sellers, penny for your thoughts.
Well, I require 5 cents for my thoughts because I'm a doctor.
I think I could stir up
I'm
a nickel.
kidding. I hope you. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, for sure. I think that the Usara in that way. So I don't know if anybody knows this, but Mary Jo McMillan got me clean and sober. She was my therapist when I went to A&D psychotherapy. So I know Mary Jo quite well. Thanks for showing me the shut up timer right there, Sean. I didn't know where we were. But I think we see this. What you're seeing out of Usara is what we're not seeing out of treatment centers sometimes, and I think that's a great service. And that is, a lot of times out of treatment centers, you see, hey, this is the way. This is the way. This is the way you got to do it. And Usara comes in and fills that gap. And I think a lot of treatment centers try to expose you to all paths, but basically, it comes down to a lot of treatment centers are saying, here's the way to do it, and this is the only way to do it. And in that way, yeah, you're going to shut off a lot of people because that doesn't work for them sometimes.
Right. Well, and I think treatment centers also, because of the volume of people that they have coming through, they would like to honor all pathways. And yet, if you've got 20 people in your center and each one is looking at a different way, it becomes really difficult to navigate all those pathways, where if you just have one curriculum, you just need everybody to work that curriculum because it's the easier thing to do.
Yeah. And in my experience working in a few different treatment centers, I'm right there with you. I don't want to make enemies out of the treatment centers because, like Dr. Seller said, I think that they do a fantastic service, and even if they don't go out and get stay in recovery right off the bat, it plants seeds, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, this has been fun. In part 2, we're going to get back to this, and we're going to talk about some cool things that Usara has coming up. So stay tuned after this little 30-second mention from our sponsor. Thank you, guys.
You are listening to We Do Recover with Jared Miller and co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. We'll be right back after this short break with more of We Do Recover with Jared Miller, sponsored by Steps Recovery Center and the Hilton Garden Inn.
I'm Desmond Lomax, one of the clinical executives here at Steps Recovery, and once you become in the Steps family, you're just a part of the Steps family. A lot of us have overcome substances, overcome addiction, and now we're able to help other people. Second of all, we're also going to help you in a way where you can afford to be helped. Third of all, we're going to give you the same quality that many organizations are charging 2 to 3 times, and it's more about you than it is about our organization.
We welcome you back to We Do Recover with Jared Miller, co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. And now with part 2 of our podcast, Jared Miller and Dr. Terry Sellers.
And we're back. Thank you for sticking with us for this. Episode 42 has been awesome so far. We got Marcy and Ben from Usara down here in southern Utah. Excited to get back to them and kind of learn the different things that they're doing here in the near future. So before that, though, sponsorship mention, episode 42, part 2 is brought to you by the Hilton Garden Inn. It's always sunny and bright at the Hilton Garden Inn. If you're traveling through southern Utah or you want to plan a getaway, do a Google search. Type in Hilton Garden Inn, St. George, Utah. They have amazing amenities. It's always clean, fantastic people. So, in fact, they just hosted the SWAGNA conference.
I was going to say, is that the one with the SWAGNA?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Right.
awesome.
And they did a fantastic job. So, love those guys. Can't speak high enough about them. All right. Well, Usara in southern Utah does some cool stuff. I've heard about, what is it called where you take the beanbag?
Oh,
Cornhole.
I like the acting, Jared. That was
Yes.
really
Yes, it's cornhole, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
good. The beanbag in the little hole.
I had to get people a visual.
Yeah,
right?
I appreciate that. Like, I visualized it. Like, that was some good acting, dude. You should do some voiceovers.
I don't know about all that. But so from what I understand, you guys recently did a cornhole tournament, and it was fantastic. There was a lot of ego bouncing around with some of our clients because they were just, oh man, we're gonna take you guys out, and just it was fun, right? Like I say ego, but I'm teasing, right? Because they were all like,
People in recovery don't have egos. That
No
goes
way.
away.
They're
Completely.
like humble monks. And so it was super fun to hear everybody kind of getting after each other and, oh no, we're going to whoop you, and all the, of course they didn't use those words, but we keep it clean on this podcast. So yeah, tell us about that. What was that all about?
At Usara, we like to try and do some recovery activities, some way to give back to the community. Sometimes we'll do community cleanup, some service activities, and then also just having fun in recovery. I don't know about you, but for me, like when I first got into recovery, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know how to have fun. Could I have fun without a beer, without a joint, without a pill,
So true.
Right?
So true.
Because that was fun for me for, X amount of years is like, how do you celebrate? How do you party? How do you have fun in life? Well, you drink, you take some drugs, and you feel good.
It's got to be the only way, right?
I mean, that's what I thought. And so we like to, provide these activities to show that you can have fun in recovery, that there is another way, that, you don't have to have a beer or a joint to, go and play a silly lawn game, which is essentially what cornhole is. I mean, you're just tossing a bag into a hole. Like, who cares, but it's fun.
It is a blast.
You trash talk, you get up in points, you get down in points, you're trash talking, that ego's going, but it's really about the fun, about the connection and recovery, because while you're doing that, while you're trash talking your opponent or hyping up your teammate, you're building those connections. You're like, yeah, that guy had some good zingers for me out there, when I missed that last toss. So, maybe I like him, or maybe he's my enemy. But actually, it's really about that connection of having fun in recovery and building a life in recovery.
And for a great, I just got to do some name dropping here real quick, but it really does. It builds relationships and it solidifies relationships and connections. So, Tyrone Hafen, yes, with Lit on Life, that's his sober brand, and Ty Empey, who works at Hope Rising Detox.
Yep.
They're a pair, and they literally went and bought like this WWE belt, right? That they were like the cornhole champs
right.
for a minute.
Because we did this a few years ago, like the year before COVID happened, and they ended up winning the tournament, and so like they were champions, and then they held another one themselves, and I think they declared themselves champions, so whatever.
Even if they didn't win, they're like, we got the belt. But that's the kind of cool, fun stuff we're
Right.
talking about, right? Just being having a little bit of fun, and just not afraid to be silly.
Right.
Love it.
Sorry,
Sorry, I
and
cut
even
you
if
off.
it's okay. I was just gonna say, even if you don't want to play cornhole, it's just a great opportunity for social interaction, which is something that when I got into early recovery, I didn't really know how to socialize anymore without that alcohol or the drugs. Like I wasn't sure how to even be social. So it provides an opportunity for that.
Yeah, absolutely. A big part of, biopsychosocial, right? We're talking about the social piece to it. So Sellers, when are you going to come down? When are we going to be cornhole champs? I'm ready to buy a belt.
We would kill Ty Empey's team.
That's right.
Heck yeah.
Challenge thrown out.
July 8th.
Yeah, you tell Ty Empey we'd kill his team.
What?
Hey, can I throw in a scientific point of view real quick though?
Yes.
Yeah,
Please.
go for it.
This is the thing, right? This is the whole deal. We start taking these drugs and alcohol release gigantic amounts of dopamine in our midbrains. And so then you use drugs and alcohol, and then you go to something that you used to enjoy, so you go to a concert, right? You go to a rock and roll concert or whatever your kind of music might happen to be. Mine's rock and roll because I'm old. Mine's not hip hop much, but so now you've got this massive amount of dopamine in your brain floating around, and you're at a concert, and it's the greatest thing ever, right? So then people get clean and sober, and they don't have the massive amount of dopamine flowing around in their brain because nothing releases more dopamine than drugs and alcohol. So you go to a concert and people think, well, I can't have fun at a concert without the drugs and the alcohol. And the truth is, the concert itself releases dopamine in your midbrain. It's just it doesn't release as much as cocaine or meth or opiates or heroin or
Alcohol.
whatever your drug of choice is. Your drug of choice releases more dopamine in your midbrain than the concert does. So people think, well, I can't have fun. Well, it turns out the concerts are fun.
Right.
You can go to a concert and release dopamine in your midbrain. What you can't do is release the massive amounts that drugs and alcohol bring. The problem is our brains weren't designed to handle that much dopamine anyway, and we lose everything that was our lives to drugs and alcohol because you're chasing that amount of dopamine now the rest of your life, and you can't get it. So we in recovery have got to figure out, and this is what I'm seeing Usara do, is we got to figure out ways to release dopamine in our midbrain that are healthy and that are fun, but that release dopamine, because without that we have no fun in life at all, and life is meant to be fairly fun most of the time. So I applaud Usara for trying to get people to do those sorts of things, because I think that's the only way people stay clean and sober is if they can find some dopamine somewhere in their lives.
Isn't it so cool that we have a board certified addictionologist on this podcast? Like, I'm going to go off on a tangent here for a sec, okay? Because I'm pretty passionate about this. Like, anybody can make a podcast about recovery because we all have experience walking through it. However, the one thing that I really love about what we're trying to create here is we set ourselves apart. I work as a SUDC. You are a SUDC, right? Peer support specialist, still going to school. Dr. Sellers, board certified addictionologist. Like, our message has credentials behind it, right? And so sometimes I think that it's awesome to share the message. However, I love that we have professionals on this podcast sharing the message. And to piggyback off of what Dr. Sellers said, a lot of times he's talking about those pathways in the brain. And the way that this has been described to me in school and working with other therapists is have you ever traveled down a dirt road and there's those big rivets in the road, right? And if you get too close to them, man, they suck you right in and you're going to bottom out. Well, those are the paths that have been used the most. And that's what happens when we abuse substances. And yet we got the sagebrush to the right that if you continue to travel that unused path, right, by going out and playing cornhole, by going to the lake, by going and exposure therapy, right, doing something different, you develop those new pathways and they become just as strong. Hence, you can make it into long-term recovery.
Right.
Our brain is amazing how it can develop those new neural pathways.
Yeah, isn't that so cool? That is so cool.
Amazing.
And shout out to Sellers because I love concerts, and I'll say this, being sober at a concert is so much more fun than being drunk because I actually remember like
Actually remember it.
not stuck in the bar line all night and blacking out and forgetting everything.
Yep.
Hey, the concert itself releases dopamine. It's just that it's a lot, but it's so minuscule when you compare it to the amount of dopamine released by meth. And so
Right.
going to a concert on meth it's really not that much more fun than just sitting at home in your closet on meth. I mean,
Very
it really
true.
isn't.
And how fun is it when you're paranoid every 30 seconds? Like, oh, that's a DEA agent. Oh, they know that I smoked before I came, right? Like, I can just see it.
Yep.
No question. But the concert itself releases dopamine, and as long as we're not over flooding our brains with the dopamine released by meth, then we'll enjoy the concert. It's fun. I love concerts.
They're great, man. Like that.
You know,
I think the first concert I went to in sobriety is just like, oh, yeah, I can have really fun, like a mass amount of fun at this concert, and I don't have to get messed up. Like everyone around me was getting messed up, but I didn't have to, and I was just there enjoying the show.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a way to do this unloaded.
Right.
I like it. All right, so let's reel this thing back in. So you've done the cornhole. What are some other things that you guys got coming up that you want to let the listeners know?
So we do have another cornhole coming up. What day was that, Marcy?
July 8th.
July 8th. All
July
right.
8th.
So
pretty quick.
Yeah, this one will be pretty similar other than the fact that this one will be to raise fund for the local recovery day here in September. So that's another thing that we're involved with every year is recovery days, not only here but statewide. And another thing is, the shirt you're wearing, International Overdose Awareness Day. So we've been putting on one, was third year now? Fourth year?
Fourth year.
Fourth year.
Fourth
yeah.
year. Mm-hmm.
So we try and host a little celebration of that, an event for the Overdose Awareness Day, and then, the cornhole things, and, we do like park cleanups and stuff like that to get people out and active and involved and making those connections in recovery and just, releasing that dopamine, having a good time. And, we try and do those things about once a month, but St. George,
it's hot. Yes, absolutely. And you know what I noticed? I went to the park cleanup, and if I was a betting man, which I'm not because I like my money, but if I was a betting man, I would bet that there was more people at the cornhole tournament than the day we did the park cleanup.
Oh yeah.
Shocking.
Shocking, right? Shocking. However, I hear so July 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it's going to be at night, so it won't be quite as hot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers
Hopefully.
crossed. And I heard Marcy's going to be doing all the cooking. Is that true? I heard that she's going to be,
Yeah. Marcy's an amazing cook. I'm excited.
yes, like a 5-course meal for everybody that comes out, right?
Yeah.
This
No, but
is a
seriously,
great
though-
fantasy, Jared. Keep it up.
The narration of my mind can get pretty wild. So, but seriously, though, there will be food there. And talk
There
to us
will be.
about that's going to be part of the fundraiser.
Correct. So I think we're still kind of ironing out details. However, we will be having food, but there will be a small charge per plate so that we can raise the funds for some of the larger events that we are having over the next few months.
That's awesome. And
Hey, wait, you said there's a small charge per plate. What if I don't eat it off a plate? Can I just eat it off my hands and do it free?
There'll be a larger charge for hand.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. A little bit larger.
we charge that. Yeah, that's called the caveman hand.
Yeah.
And that's
Caveman
double.
tax.
Yeah,
Double.
caveman tax.
Yep.
Okay, so I also want to point out, so I'm on the PAC committee with Usara, and you guys work with, what school is it?
So that's Rocky Vista University Local Medical School here out in Ivins.
which that's super cool. And Sellers, we'd like to get you plugged in with them because they're always looking for like people to go talk, and you might have a thing or two you could say, but so
Not anything worthwhile, but I got some stuff I can say.
but that's part of the fundraiser that we're doing, right?
Correct.
They have some is it a van?
I think it may be a van.
It's a mobile
I think
unit.
it's
Mobile unit. I know they're trying to get some type of harm reduction services down here. I think it would be a mobile unit so they could pass out wound kits, stuff like that to clean wounds and stuff of people that inject drugs or just whoever needs it really in general.
Yeah, I like that. And how much money are we trying to raise for people that are listening that maybe want to donate? Is there some place that if they can't make it? I mean, we have listeners from all over the place.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm not exactly sure either. I want to say it's around 1,500. And I believe right now we have some stickers at our office that we are selling for them. There will also be stickers available at the event on July 8th. They're $4 a piece. Very, very awesome stickers, but it is an effort to raise some funds for starting some harm reduction services down in this area.
And Usara is a 501c3 nonprofit, correct?
Correct.
We are, yeah.
So if people wanted to just donate, where would they go to donate?
As far as for the students, I'm not sure because we're not really connected with them that way. We're just helping them out and supporting them. So if they want to make a donation to us for Usara and our services and our activities, they can go online, I think, to myusara.com.
Yes.
And there's a donation button there. We don't have a whole lot of details on where to donate for the Rocky Vista students. Wish we did, but I know they're trying to figure some things out right now too, and so it's just like
It's a little up in
Yeah.
the air. TBA.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Exactly.
If
We
somebody
could
did want to
definitely-
donate, though, couldn't they just put in the comment or something, Rocky Mountain Vista?
They
We
could.
could
They
figure it
could.
out,
Or the
right?
St. George, in the comment on the donation link.
Cool.
Figure that out.
Speaking of the website, one thing, if you are listening from out of state, and oftentimes I work with families who have loved ones that are in treatment that are from out of state, and I talk about Usara, and they say, oh, well, that's a Utah thing. You guys have an online presence. You do Zoom. So talk to me a little bit about that.
We have we have meetings, I think, offered every day. There's a Zoom meeting.
You don't have to show your ID to prove you're in Utah, right?
Nope, not at all. And I mean, anybody can attend any of our online meetings, but there are also other recovery community organizations, which are called RCOs, in all different states. So several different places, just like Usara. They're nonprofits, which are recovery support services is what is offered. Very similar idea of what Usara does.
So get involved with your local, right? Just do a local Google search?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Local RCO would be what it was.
Local
What do we call
RCO. Yeah, get involved. What these guys do is amazing. So we got about 8 minutes here. Talk to me about the naloxone. I understand a big thing that you guys do is it's even in the title of your guys' foundation, advocacy.
Yes.
What does that look like, Ben?
So it looks like a variety of different things. So, I mean, obviously on the state level at our home office in Salt Lake, there's people that work, well, I don't know about work, but like just try and advocate for specific recovery legislation to get through. It's not like they write it themselves, but they support those bills through. And so one of the big ones that they helped support to get passed in Utah was the naloxone bill and the Good Samaritan law. And so since that law was passed, any bystander can carry naloxone without a prescription. It's not illegal and things like that. And so, that's a big piece of it. We also, help people advocate for themselves, at the local level, whether that's, just going to court themselves and, advocating to, their attorney, the prosecutor, the judge, or heck, it can even be like treatment. I'm not really agreeing with this assignment. I don't see the purpose for it. It's like, okay, so we can work with people to how to advocate for themselves, where it's like, maybe something's like not culturally, appropriate for them. And so it's like, okay, well, you need to tell them that, but, you need to advocate for yourself as well.
Yeah, yeah. So
Very much support people in advocating for themselves, whether that looks like just attending a court hearing with them, maybe sitting by their side while they call a family member or a treatment center, just really helping them learn how to use their voice for change in their own life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know back when I would go to court dates, it's so intimidating, right? To walk in, you got the prosecuting attorney, they got this guy that they've told that doesn't cost you anything, and then they bill you $500 later. Anyways, we won't go there. But it's what?
A sense of resentment.
Oh no, none at all. I've let all that stuff go. I have zero resentments today, Sellers. But it's intimidating, right? It's intimidating,
sure.
and so to be able to have an advocate with you to go in, whether that's for a possession charge, whether that's DCFS, a court case with DCFS to try to get your kids back. I think that that's amazing because it really is tough to go in there all by yourself and feel like the whole room's against you. So
Correct.
even if they don't say anything, just knowing that you have somebody in your corner is huge.
Right, exactly. And that's, something that we do, with people, go to court dates with them. Not that, we're going to speak up for them, unless a lot of things are signed and things are in place for that. But mostly we just go to support you.
Right.
We're just going to walk in and be that friendly face and be in your corner and, just gas you up. Like, you got this. You can do it, man. You got it. You get through it, talk to your lawyer, he'll have him explain it again. If you don't understand, like, ask those questions, like, be an advocate for yourself, stand up for yourself. That's really what it is. It's just standing up for you.
And part of the reason that this kind of stuff actually works is because everybody that works at Usara is somebody who is in recovery themselves. So they share from a place of lived experience, generally helping people go through exactly what they've been through or very similar situations.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. So let's rewind this thing back to the naloxone. So Dr. Sellers, what does naloxone do?
So it's a mu opiate blocker. It goes into your brain and blocks the opiate receptors so that if someone happens to use, it binds to those receptors with greater affinity than the opiate does. And so if someone has a bunch of opiates on board and you give them an emergency dose of naloxone, it'll knock those opiates off the receptor and then bind the receptor and block it so that no more opiates can bind to it for the life of the naloxone, which isn't a long half-life, but it'll block those for a little while. So someone who's overdosed, it will kick all the opiates off, and you overdose only because opiates bind to receptors, and this will kick them off of those receptors and then block them for some period of time.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's great knowledge to know. Now, what are forms of naloxone?
So there's a few different kinds. The most common are the muscle injectable and the nasal ones. There's a variety of different ones at various price points. I mean, there's some that you just literally hit a button and it does it all for you and speaks to you while it's doing it, and those are like $1,500. Right. And then, there's some where like it comes, like the muscle injectable comes with a vial and a syringe that you draw up and stick into a large muscle group. There's the nasal one, which comes in a bubble package, and you stick a little end up the nostril and hit a button and it gets in that way. And then there's some where you vial and then like another nasal component that you have to screw on and get on it. And so I've never really used one of those personally, so I don't know too much about it or seen them, but I know they're out there. So there's a variety of different ones out there, but the most common and the one we have here in St. George at Usara that we give away to anyone that wants one or needs one for free is the nasal and the IM injectable for the muscles.
Which life-saving, right? Hence the need for that Good Samaritan Act. If I am using with somebody, Ben, can we run a little scenario here without me offending you?
Yeah, go ahead.
If me and Ben are using opiates and Ben does too much and he overdoses and I have some naloxone, I can hit him with the naloxone. First, you always say,
Call 911.
Call 911, administer the naloxone, wait how long?
I think it's recommended like 90 seconds to 3 minutes for it to work. I mean, I don't know, like in those moments where someone's overdosing, like I'm not really looking at my watch. And so,
Right.
I think that's what they recommend, but like, I get it. Like you're not looking at a watch. I mean, it could probably be like 30 seconds and you're like, I think it's been 3 minutes. Let's give him another one. He's not waking up, And so like, which won't hurt him.
Right. You could literally save their life. But also that Good Samaritan Act is once I call 911, I don't have to worry about like getting a possession charge or getting in trouble, right? Because that's what protects me from that. And again, the point of it being that we don't want people to die.
Right.
Go ahead,
Correct.
Sellers.
Or potentially getting sued by someone over practicing medicine without a license.
Okay. Yeah,
Correct.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't think about that, but obviously you would.
Yeah, I mean, in almost every other case in life, it is illegal for you to inject someone else with something, right? I'm not talking about drugs. That's obviously illegal. But if somebody has some asthma medicine and you give them their asthma medicine, that's actually illegal.
So the Good Samaritan Act also helps with that then.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't get sued if something happens to go wrong because you tried to save a guy's life.
Right.
Right.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Well, listen, guys, it's been super fun having you guys on. Is there anything in the last minute that you want to take away? Anything you want to get out?
Well, I think
Go Jazz.
heck yeah. Also, Usara does we like to make a case for recovery, which is that we celebrate, advocate, support, and empower all individuals looking for a path to recovery.
So let's go over that again. C is
Celebrate,
advocate,
support,
yep,
and empower.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Dr. Sellers, a takeaway in the last 25 seconds here?
No, I love Usara. They're doing a really, really great service. And if people want to get involved, again, do a Google search and call Usara and get involved. They're doing great stuff.
Yes.
Yes. Give us a call. We'll answer.
Absolutely. Reach out. Shout out to Tiffany Nacarado up in the Salt Lake area.
Heck yeah.
Good friend.
Hey,
She was on
Tiffany.
a little while ago.
Yep. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us today on We Do Recover with Jared Miller.
Help us spread our message of hope. Like, comment, and share.
If you have any topics or ideas for future shows, please share that on our Facebook page.
That Facebook page is We Do Recover with Jared Miller. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to us. Again, thank you for listening. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. This has been a production from A Podcast Studio.